Hello everyone, welcome to the tutorial number 2. In this video, we are going to learn the basics of TensorFlow. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you very basics about TensorFlow, like what is a variable, what is a placeholder, what is a session, and stuff like that. So without wasting much of time, let's get started real quick. So I'm going to open my Jupyter notebook that I've already created, and I'm going to drag this on then another window basically. So in order I can see it properly, so we can get started with TensorFlow. So for the first of all, by the way, the entire text-based version of this tutorial is also there on my GitHub account. The links are in the description below, so make sure to check that out. So let's get started. So first of all, we need to import TensorFlow, right, guys? So import TensorFlow. So for those people who are using Jupyter Notebook and if you don't have a TensorFlow, how do you download TensorFlow? It's a simple. In Jupyter Notebook, you can do a command known as pip install. I'm saying pip install TensorFlow. So if you type this command on your Jupyter Notebook, so you should see something like this. Let me bring the screen here. So the entire TensorFlow will be downloaded here. Okay, so make sure to do that. Once you have done that, so which will install the Jupyter Notebook. So you can just say, which will install the TensorFlow. Sorry for that. So you can say simply import. To first of all, let's check whether you have TensorFlow. So you're gonna say import TensorFlow as TF. And after you have done that, so we need to print the version of the TensorFlow. So first of all, on your Mac, hit Control plus return button, so it will execute this piece of code. Then we're gonna say print. I'm gonna say TF dot version in capital, so this will print the version of the TensorFlow. So here you can see I'm using version 1.13.1. After you are done with that, let me talk about the basic data types in TensorFlow. So let me bring my Jupyter notebook here. So guys, these are the basic data types in TensorFlow. So if you observe this carefully, let me zoom this a little bit. So we have a float 32, float 64. So most of the time you won't be using all of this. What is important is only two stuff, that is tf dot float 32 and 64 and int 32 and 64. That's it. So that's all you need to remember from this entire data set, from the entire from the entire data types of TensorFlow. So once you are good with that, so now we are going to learn how to create a matrices in TensorFlow. So let me open my Jupyter notebook back. Now let me show you how to create a zeros and ones, a basic a matrix in TensorFlow. So by the way, the text version is already there in the GitHub. You can make sure to check it, but please try to code it by yourself so that you can improve and you can learn, right? So the best way to learn is to code. All right, so let's do a equals to, so I want to create a matrix of tf zeros, tf dot, I can say ones. This will create ones. This takes an argument known as shape. So the matrix has to be of what size? So I'm going to say 2 by 2. So this will create a matrix of a by 2 by 2, which will have all ones. Similarly, you can also create zeros. All right, and this also takes a shape. So you can say 2 by 2. Now let me make some lines here. Now if you print a, so it will, you can see it's a tensor object, right? So how do I print this matrix? If I want to print it, how do I do that? So guys, there is something known as a session, right? So what is session? Basically nothing but in order to run this, you have to run it inside a session. So the way to run this is with tf.session as session, and you can say ses.run. You can say a. Oops, don't forget, I forgot to store this in a variable. Then you can print it out. So let's say I have stored it inside an R. So now if I say outside this variable, if I can just print this variable real quick. So here you can see it printed the matrix. Beautiful, right? So we learned about installing TensorFlow. We learned about printing the version, to creating a basic matrices of ones and zeros. Let's go forward and try to learn a little bit more about TensorFlow. Now I'm gonna guys teach you about something known as reduce sum and shape. So in order to get the shape of this matrix, if I don't know the shape of this matrix, so how do I do that? If you print this, you get the shape known as 2 by 2. Beautiful, right? Now let's go forward. If you want to reshape this, so what you can do, guys, uh, so you can say there is a function known as dot reshape. So you can say, so as usual, tf dot reshape. Oops, reshape. Now this takes the matrix that you want to reshape, and then the shape that you want to do. So I'm gonna say the 2 by 2 has to be reshaped by 4 by 1, and of course I can again print the shape of D. So if I do that and print, now it's 4 by 1. Beautiful. We learned how to do that. Now let's learn how to do a multiplication of two matrix. Let's multiply A and B. So D is equal to, let's say I have a matrix A which is zeros, and I'm gonna say plus 2. All right, so if I run this, nothing happens. And if I print this, as usual, it's a tensor object. Now in order to print the result of this, what you're gonna do, you have to run inside the session. So I have already taught you up how to do that, so I'm not gonna repeat it again. Now I'm gonna show you some couple of more functions in order to save time. I've already created a beautiful handout for you guys. So here you can see you can do a tf.matmul. So you can multiply the matrix. You can fill the matrix with the value 20. So here you can see tf.fill. Then what else you can do is you can also create strings. So we can do something known as tf.constants, and you can give the value known as hello. Name equals to just giving a name, variable name. You can print hello. So but this won't run. Remember, you have to run inside a session. So with tf.session as session, result equals to session.run hello plus world. So it's gonna print hello world. That's how you run. So far we learned how to create matrices and learned about constants. And in order to run all of these, you have to create a session. Remember, it's very important. Now putting all together, so here you can see I have created two variables known as hello and world. I am concatenating both the variables, that is a string. In order to print that, I'm going to run inside the session and it's going to print hello world. So similarly, we have something known as random uniform distribution and random normal distribution. So I'm going to cover that a little bit later right now, not in this video. This basically creates a random, it gives random numbers between 0 and 1, and it creates a random uniform distribution basically to assign to a weight matrix. So similarly, this is a random normal. It creates a 4 by 4 matrix, and we have to supply mean and standard deviation. So that's it for this video. In this video I taught you, let me just go over it. In this video I taught you about TensorFlow, how to install TensorFlow, how to print the version of the TensorFlow. We saw the data types in TensorFlow. Then we also saw creating a matrix with zeros, one, multiplication of matrix, sum, additions, creating string, creating constants. In order to run all of that, you have to create a session. We learned how to create a session, and that's it. So in the next video, I would be talking about the placeholders, what are placeholders and how do we use that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. See you in the tutorial number 3, where you would be learning about placeholders. And gradually, when we progress in the course, we will be learning and making complex neural networks and models. Okay, so that's it for this video. The entire text-based version or the Python notebook is there on my GitHub account. The links are there in the description. If you feel that I'm doing a great job, please subscribe to my channel, like my video, because it takes a lot of time and effort to create these videos. You have to first prepare an article, you have to write it down, you have to speak, then you have to edit the videos. So that's it for this video. See you in video number 3, where we'll be learning about placeholder. Thank you. If you have any questions, post them in the comment section.